But in my opinion, I don't think we can judge Hurts yet. I think it's going to be a full body of work here. We're going to see how he does over 17 games if he can stay healthy. And then we'll be able to make that determination. So right now, I still think he can be the guy. He has things to work on, but it's still too early to say yet. No, he's not the guy. 7 starts, and I just discount those 4 starts from last year.
It's a Football Friday here on Bird 365. John McMullen, Jody McDonald, a.k.a. Mac and Mac. We had to that and Eddie Kracz joining us here on Bird 365. And I know you're just chomping at the bit to get down to the Linc to talk to Shady McCoy. Jay Mac and I were just talking about it here on the show. You've been covering the team for a while. Go back to Shady's days. What's today going to be like? Talking about Shady's career as an Eagle and retiring as an Eagle. Is it going to be a love fest? Are there going to be questions about Chip Kelly? How's it going to play today, Ed Kracz?
Well, I think it's both. It's going to be a love fest, and there's going to be questions about Chip Kelly, and maybe even some questions about some of Shady's shady dealings in the past. He's notorious for some off the field stuff as well, but I think a lot of that will get swept aside, and it'll be kind of a love fest. And I heard you guys talking earlier about him, in the Hall of Fame conversation. You think he's borderline. I agree. I think he should be in. Like John said, a member of the All-Decade team. But, this guy I think was one of the best running backs of his generation. And I think that deserves merit when you think about the Hall of Fame. So I think today will be a happy love fest day. And it really came from out of the blue. I mean, nobody really had an inkling that was going to happen. We just got the announcement yesterday. And, it's kind of interesting, the timing. He'll be honored at halftime of Sunday's game. Where the coach that coached him for all those years and, helped him develop into the running back that he became is going to be in town, Andy Reid.
Yeah, and Andy, obviously such a big part in Andy's offense, such a big part of Shady's career. And then ultimately they get back together in Kansas City. They both get over the hump together, which obviously Jody and I were talking about. Those 2 Super Bowl rings at the end of his career, not really in the conversation to put him in the Hall of Fame. I think the fact that he was the most well-rounded running back of his generation. Look, we put Adrian Peterson aside. He's a no-brainer. But Shady could do more things than Adrian Peterson. Was a better pass catcher, better pass protector. But obviously when you have that historic level of players and runner, he's going to be placed on a different level. And that part of it's understandable. But I think he's number 2. I think he's better than Marshawn Lynch. I think he's better than Frank Gore. And anytime you're the second best player in the NFL at your position in a generation, that's got to put you in a good, you just got to put you in the conversation.
Yeah. It's ironic that his 2 most unproductive seasons came in his last 2 years, and they were also the years that he won, his Super Bowl ring. So it didn't happen while he was in Philadelphia or Buffalo. It's really amazing. You can't separate LaShawn McCoy from Chip Kelly. I mean, Chip Kelly trading him when he was in his prime, I think 26 years old, maybe 27. I think it was 26 years old for Kiko Alonso. Coming off a really good year. I mean, Shady had 1,300 yards rushing in that 2014 season for Chip.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I don't know why he dealt him. But
personality's too big.
Too big a personality, but he still had a lot left. He went to Buffalo and ran for, another 3,000 plus yards and scored another 25 touchdowns. So, it's kind of a shame when you think about it that, he couldn't just continue his career in Philadelphia. He had to go elsewhere. And, who knows? Maybe if he would have stuck around, he's on that 2017 Eagles team that wins the Super Bowl.
I mean, if you think about that year he had in Buffalo, he was still over 1,000 yards that year. So, he was still a really effective player. It's tough when you go in those situations and people put such an emphasis on Super Bowl rings. his Super Bowl. Although with Kansas City, he was a productive player that year. He just didn't play at the end of the season. If you look at his numbers, I don't know, it was about 400 and something yards over 4.6. I'll pull it up. 465 yards, 4.6 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. It's not like he didn't contribute at all.
Right. But yeah, you're right. On that playoff run, he wasn't a part of it, so you kind of forget those 465 yards and however many touchdowns leading up to that Super Bowl. But yeah, to me, I would put him in the Hall of Fame. You look at some of his numbers and how they compare to, running backs that are already in there, and, they don't take a back seat, really. If you're just looking at numbers, I think he's in.
The question is, will Shady say at halftime, number 25 will always love you? I'm not sure if he's going to go there, but if he does, how's it going to play with the fact that the Eagles are down by 2 touchdowns at that point against the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, only 2? I mean, come on. You're giving the Eagles a lot of credit here.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I don't know. Listen, it'll be a celebration. I think we'll see a lot of McCoy jerseys there on Sunday. People still have them. I still see them, in the crowds even today. So, we'll see some of that. And, it'll add a little bit, more juice, I guess you could say, to the game, because we haven't talked about the game, but I'm not optimistic for the Eagles' chances on Sunday. Let's put it that way.
No, I don't think any of us are, but I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm trying to change. I'm trying to be Ted Lasso. I'm trying to be Nick Sirianni. So, all right, I'm looking at it, Ed. Kansas City Chiefs, 30th ranked defense in the NFL, and they're amazingly consistent. 31st ranked run defense, 23rd against the pass, 31 in points per game, 28th in 4th down defense, 29th in red zone defense. This defense stinks. It stinks. Can that give the Eagles fans some hope?
Well, you would think, but my question is what kind of coaching job are we going to see from Nick Sirianni? You have to say these last 2 weeks have been, very curious, in his play design against the 49ers, his play calling against the 49ers, and then, his game plan against the Cowboys, where he says we're going to try to outscore them. To me,
was bizarre. Oof.
Very foolish. To me, and listen, I'm not a coach, but when you have a team that's as high-powered of an offense as the Cowboys seemingly were, and look, the Cowboys do things differently than the Chiefs. They like to run the ball to set up the pass. The Chiefs just like to throw the ball down the field and mix in a run here and there. But, when you have a very explosive offense, my thinking would be, hey, let's try to limit their touches. Let's try to control the ball by running the ball and sticking with it, because we all have seen Miles Sanders. I mean, he's a home run hitter. We saw him last year with the 3+ runs of over 70 yards. And, if you give him the ball enough and you get that offensive line, which again is banged up, if you get them blocking downhill, Sanders is going to break one. And you just threw out the numbers against the Chiefs. And sure, you can score against this defense, but you thought you could score against the Cowboys too. It just wasn't a very good game plan coming in to try to win a shootout. And you hope that's not the mindset going in to Sunday's game.
One of the explanations / excuses that Nick Sirianni used after the fact was, well, the situation in the game kind of dictated that we had to throw the ball as much as we did. His explanation of RPOs count as runs when the quarterback keeps the ball and then throws it. No, coach, I don't know anybody who thinks that way, but that's okay. You want to try and stick to that story, fine. If they get down 14-0, is he just going to abandon the run again, Ed Kracz?
Well, I mean, if he's down 14-0, you hope it's early and he doesn't abandon the run, because when he says that the game got away from them, listen, it's 20-7 at halftime, and the Eagles have the ball coming out of the half. Okay, you're still in the game. You put up a touchdown there. Now, the Cowboys put up a touchdown on the pick six when Devontae Smith falls down on his route, and it's 27-7, but still the Eagles close to 27-14, and they get the ball back, still down that margin with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. they pick up a first down, but they threw 6 times. You can still run the ball in that situation. It was interesting to hear Sanders, when we talked to him earlier in the week, mention that there was some panic on the sidelines. And, you cannot have that because I don't buy the fact that they weren't in that game. Yeah, okay, they're down 2 touchdowns, but it's 13 points. You have the ball, 4 minutes to go. You're still in this game. I mean, you hope that this is just a very green play caller in Nick Sirianni. Very new, obviously, to wearing the main headset. You hope that he's learning some lessons here and able to grow from some of these last couple weeks.
Yeah, Ed, you mentioned he said the game got away from them. The game really got away from him being Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff, because I thought Mike McCarthy did the Eagles a favor at the end of the half with his time mismanagement. Yes. And the Eagles, remember, were getting the football coming out of the locker room. There was a chance to get right back in that football game. Ultimately, the pick six happens, but then they get back into it again, at least within 2 scores, as you mentioned. There's no need to panic and go away from your entire plan and just start chucking the football. So I do think Nick Sirianni has to learn from that. But Miles was a good soldier, but he let his real feelings kind of seep through at times. You mentioned the panic quote. He also said, to have a good offense, you got to run the football, but I'm not a coach. I mean, did we see our first crack in the foundation? I know behind the scenes, there were people there that weren't happy with the way that press conference went. Are we starting to see things get away from Nick Sirianni?
Well, listen, if it continues along this path where there's some very curious game planning and play calling in key situations, then yeah, we could see more of a Fisher kind of develop here. But right now, it might just be one player kind of saying what he felt. And listen, Sanders really, like you said, he was the good soldier. He said that he's not here to question anything or criticize anyone. And but yeah, he did let his emotions sift through a little bit there. So we might see more of that, John, if this continues. And right now, I don't see any reason why it's not going to continue. Now, I'm not saying the Eagles can't call a very good game and run the ball and do the things they think they need to do to win, and they don't. But Sirianni makes some good calls. He has a good game plan. He's mixing in the run, the pass, and the Eagles don't find a way to win. I think players would probably be okay with that. But if you're going in and you're getting dusted 21-0 or 28-7 by the Chiefs at halftime, you might see more of this bubble up. Sure.
Eddie, I don't want to steal optimism points from my partner here, but I will. Looks like they're going to have their starting safety back first time this year. McLeod played full participant in practice. We conjectured as to how much time he was going to be out by the fact that they didn't put him on IR at the beginning of the season, getting him back by week number 4. If that's the case against the Chiefs this week, how much does that enhance the defense?
Well, it certainly will help, no doubt. I mean, you lose Brandon Graham, the heart and soul, a big veteran on the team, and now it looks like it's trending toward McLeod playing, and yeah, that's going to help the back end for sure. But listen, he's been out now for almost a year, or close 10 months, something like that, since he tore his ACL. I mean, he's going to have, I guess, some rust and a little bit of maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit of, he won't be as effective as he will be maybe in, week 7 when he's had a couple games under his belt. But yeah, it's a big help, especially when you lose, another safety, Kayvon Wallace, with a separated shoulder. He's on IR now. So yeah, having McLeod back, I think, will help. But again, this is a Chiefs offense that, that even on bad days, their offense is still very good. So, McLeod, he'll help in this game, but I think his presence will be more felt as the weeks go on.
Offensive line, Ed, because I was the one who created kind of a Kirk bubble down there by asking Nick Sirianni what he's going to do moving forward at the offensive guard position. Now, the problem, Landon Dickerson, they want to play. They want to get him up to speed. Now we know Isaac Seumalo is out for the season. Brandon Brooks is going to be back at some point in theory. So my question is, do you move Landon Dickerson to left guard, leave him there for the rest of the year? Do you keep him a right guard, then move him when Brandon Brooks comes back? Nick Sirianni didn't want to answer that question, thought he had a competitive advantage. I'm not sure I agree with him, but nonetheless, they want to keep that advantage. They don't want us reporting who's going to start on the offensive line, and we can't report it anyway because they were just rotating everybody in the small portion of practice that we can see. So let's do some speculation. We know Andre Diller's going to start at left tackle again. Jordan Mailata is not going to be able to go with a sprained knee. What do you think they're going to do with the offensive guard positions?
Yeah, I don't think Andy Reid's losing much sleep over, the Eagles keeping this guard decision to themselves. He's probably just happy Brandon Brooks that won't be playing. But, it's they have options. There's no doubt. And, one of those options could be Jack Driscoll, who was playing some guard, during training camp. Now he's still on injured reserve. He was put there at the start of the year with a pec strain. They haven't added him from off of IR, I should say, though. They opened up the 20-day window where he could practice, and we did see him practice yesterday. He looked okay to me in the short time we were able to watch. So he's in the mix, but they don't like Nate Herbig on the left side. Nate Herbig started 12 games at right guard, well, mostly at right guard last year. Doug Peterson never liked to disrupt two offensive line spots to cover one hole, but that was Doug Peterson. But Jeff Stoutland's still here. We'll see what the philosophy is now with Nick Sirianni, if he will move Landon Dickerson to left guard, because that's the job that is going to be open all season long because Isaac Seumalo is not coming back. So if you want Dickerson to get comfortable with that left guard spot over these final 14 games, then, yeah, you're going to move him to the left side, and you're going to probably put, I don't know who, right guard. Again, speculation. Sua Opeta could be an option. Nate Herbig is better on the right side, so he could play that right guard spot. And then Jack Driscoll is also a possibility. If they bring him off IR today or Saturday, then I think that could be the way they go, is Landon at left guard and Driscoll at right guard.
Ed, Johnny and I spoke about this after the game on Monday and after the coach's press conference when he talked about accountability and how do you hold your players accountable when they continually get called for penalties, some of them from the foolish variety, and not only lead the league in penalties, have opened up a significant number of penalties as compared to everybody else in the league. And his point about we pointed out, and then if it's really bad, we really pointed out, raising his voice kind of annoyed me a little bit. Here's my question for the coach as far as accountability goes. Should Quez Watkins get the first most number of snaps at wide receiver this week, the second most number of snaps this week, or where he's been the third most number of snaps? Because truth be told, he's made more plays than anyone else at the wide receiver position so far. If you're talking about accountability, when does production in 3 games, now we've got 3 games under our belt, production on the field actually start to dictate how many snaps you get during a game at a position where you've got a lot of guys who you're trying to get into the action?
Well, I would say that they're trying to grow all 3 of these wide receivers, and yeah, there's no question Quez has been very productive when given the opportunity. He makes plays. He's able to get downfield deep and get separation. So I don't know if they'll give him more snaps over someone like a Rager or Smith. I just think they want all 3 to kind of grow together. And as far as the penalties go, I mean, to say that, we'll pull somebody out if he's continue to make penalties. I mean, this isn't high school where you can sit someone on the bench. I mean, you just have to keep talking to them, like you said, and pointing out to them that this is what we can't have. And, the biggest offender in penalties has been Lane Johnson and this offensive line. I mean, everybody likes to give Derek Barnett, a hard time, and deservedly so. I mean, Barnett commits some foolish penalties. all the roughing the passers and unnecessary roughness stuff that he does after the whistle is unacceptable. But he just has the 2 penalties. Lane Johnson has 5. He's been called for holding 4 times. That's got to stop. I mean, that's a big reason why this offense is playing behind the proverbial sticks, on so many series while they're facing 1st and 20 or 2nd and 15. It's the holding calls. It's the pre-snap stuff, the jumping off sides, illegal man downfield, which has been a point of emphasis for NFL officials, but just too many penalties, 35 of them. I think that you'll be able to get Quez Watkins more involved if you're in more of a, 1st and 10 or 2nd and 5 situation where you can take advantage of that skill set where he can get deep and you can take a deep shot if you're in 3rd and or 2nd and 4, you can throw the ball deep, and that's where Watkins comes in. So I think it all starts with the penalties. You need to not commit penalties and stay ahead of the sticks. I mean, they're on pace to shatter the NFL record the Raiders set back in 2011 with 163 penalties. The Eagles are on pace for 190 plus penalties. At some point, you hope it evens out, but some of these holding calls, they're legitimate. You see them on replays and jumping off sides. You can clearly see that they need to stop that on the offensive line for this offense to be successful. It has more to do than just Watkins and Smith and Rager. You need to fix that offensive line, and that's where Jeff Stoutland has to come in. He's got to get these guys to play more discipline.
Ed, I know you got to run because you got to get down there for Shady's press conference. I do want to mention you can read Ed and me, but Ed mainly, eaglemaven.com or si.com/NFL/Eagles if you want to make it more difficult for yourself. I do want to get your quick thoughts on Jalen Hurts because we haven't even gotten to the quarterback. And this season, a lot of this season should be about figuring what you have at that position. We're only 3 games in. Where are you with Jalen Hurts? What's your thoughts moving forward with 7 starts under his belt?
Yeah. Listen, again, I think it just comes down to the game planning. There was a lot made that Sirianni is going to put him in good position, but let's see some designed runs. Let's take the ball out of Hurts's hands a little bit with this RPO stuff and just call for a handoff. They say the running game is the quarterback's best friend, and the Eagles haven't been able to do that yet. I think Jalen has been inaccurate at times. I don't think you can put that second interception in Dallas on him. The first one, absolutely, he underthrew it. But listen, unless you're Aaron Rodgers, and we saw Rodgers in game 1 this year throw some picks, but over his career, Rodgers just doesn't throw many of those. But that's an anomaly. I think Hurts, if you can get a season where he only throws 10 picks, that's pretty good. But now he has a banged up offensive line, and that was one of the criteria that when we talked to Howie and I asked him what kind of tangible benchmarks do you set for Jalen Hurts to determine if he's the guy in 2022, and he didn't set any wins number or touchdown number. He said that the offensive line needs to stay healthy so he can be the best player he can be, and his young weapons need to develop. So the first criteria is out the window. The O-line's not healthy. But in my opinion, I don't think we can judge Hurts yet. I think it's going to be a full body of work here. We're going to see how he does over 17 games if he can stay healthy. And then we'll be able to make that determination. So right now, I still think he can be the guy. He has things to work on, but it's still too early to say yet. No, he's not the guy. 7 starts, and I just discount those 4 starts from last year. They were all tiptoeing around Carson Wentz. I'm not sure how much there was being game planned for Hurts. I'm pretty sure there was very little development of Hurts because Carson's still in the building. You didn't want to offend him. So I kind of discount those 4 games. I'm looking at this season, and right now 3 games to me is too small a body of work.
All right, Eddie, we had you on, and we'll let you run in a second. The Football Friday before the opener against the Falcons, and you made a pick on the game and gave a score on the game. And your score was exactly the same as my score, which I already had written down. So I said, all right, I'm with good company if Ed Kracz and I have the same score. We both had Eagles winning a close game. They actually won handily.
Yeah.
I've already got my score written down for Sunday's game. Let's see if Ed Kracz and I are on the same page again. Final score after 60 minutes of football down at Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday will be what, Ed?
Well, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs 31, the Philadelphia Eagles 20. Listen, the Cowboys put up 41 on them, and the Chiefs certainly have that ability. But I'm putting some faith in the fact that the Eagles are going to try to control the clock a little bit this weekend. So that will hopefully limit the touches of the Chiefs. So 31 points seems low when you're talking about Kansas City. It could go higher, but I just don't see the Eagles being able to score 20 or holding the Chiefs out of the 30. So I'll go 31-20 Chiefs.
Eddie, give my regards to Shady. Tell him I said hi, and just don't go out partying with him afterwards. You don't want to buy into any of the trouble.
Well, hopefully you get a better tip if you see,
don't board the party bus is what you're saying. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That party bus to Jersey. What's your score, Jody?
I can't give it out this early.
I'm gonna hold off till next segment.
Okay. I'll let you know, Ed, when I get down there.
Johnny Mac will report on my score. Ed, thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, fellas.
Ed Kracz, Eagles coverage for SI, and whenever he hops on board with us here on Birds 365, we appreciate his contribution. All right, J Mac, John McMullen, Jody McDonald coming back. More Birds 365.